I'm so excited to be presenting this interview with Ms. Korto Momolu.
How are you?
And this is my first interview for my newest blog, Ebony the Stylist, which is going to be my fashion blog, style blog. So, first of all, Ms. Korto, I just want to tell you.
It's gonna be Korto.
Okay. Korto.
It's not real old. It's Miss Korto.
Your season, I fell in love with you, and I fell in love with Project Runway all over again. You were just awesome on that, and you just brought to me, everything you did on that show just did so much. Like, it was so cool. When did it hit you that you wanted to be a designer?
Probably in high school. I've always been an artist, and I think once you're in high school, you have to figure out what you're going to do with this art, what you love to do. And I had a really great art instructor that saw me going in that direction. She's the one that actually kind of groomed me for, taking the next step, going to university and applying for design and just going after it.
Alright, and when I always think of people that said when they were in high school and they knew they wanted to design, did you find yourself designing things for yourself? Did you make your own garments? If it was something you wanted but you couldn't find, you're just I'm just going to make it myself.
Yes and no. I didn't know how to sew yet, but I was making things that I didn't really consider to be design, but it was. I would get, sneakers and t-shirts that were blank, and I would create designs on them, or boxer shorts. That's when it was really popular in the 90s. And just design them for myself, and then other people would see them and want them. And so I created things that I didn't actually, make. I didn't sew it yet. But then, obviously before going to school, I learned how to sew. My aunt taught me, and it kind of then I started doing things like that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. So what was the first garment you designed for yourself? The first garment that you were just so proud of. It was your first design.
I can't remember the one I was so proud of, but my first garment was a skirt that I had to do in school, and I mean it was cool. It was all right, but it was just a long, crazy process to get finished. It was the first thing, and we had to make it for ourselves. So, my shape is a lot different from the average woman. So it's this big issue about how to make skirts for girls that are curvy, and that's kind of where I became really in tune with the fact that, okay, obviously this is an issue in the industry where this has to be a problem. So I was going to make sure that when I made clothes, it would make women who look like me not feel uncomfortable. That we're aliens or something. The owner of the school had to come up and tell me how to fit for my body. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was doing some research on you, and I know that during the point in your life, your parents weren't very supportive of what you're doing. They felt like you need to be doing a real career, something lawyer, accounting. And then at the time there was Civil War, where you're from Liberia. And then so it was all this going on. Was there ever a time when you just said, maybe I should just not do this design thing and just find something more stable? Was there ever a time that thought went through your head?
Yeah, well, my dad told me he wasn't going to pay for me to draw all day. Yeah, that thought definitely came in. And my parents always see this and they get mad at me. They're how can you say we didn't support you? But it's not so much that. They saw the struggle. They saw all these years now that I've been, a struggling artist, and they didn't want that for me. They want it better. So when you're little, all you hear is no.
Yeah.
When you're older, I get it. So now when I'm telling my daughter about things she wants to do, I'm well, make sure you find other things so that if this doesn't just work out perfectly, you'll have something else. They didn't want me to be here.
Yeah.
So I get it. But I was going to go into law. That's actually been the second love of mine. Whatever. So I was going to be a lawyer / fashion designer. So he could pay for my education and I can still do what I wanted to do.
Cool. That's really cool. That's interesting. So I know that your designs are inspired by your African roots. Did you ever think that the American audience wouldn't get it?
Not really, because I don't really, it's not really in your face African, it's not feathers and bones sticking out everywhere. It's just little aspects. Maybe it might be the cut, or maybe the silhouette, or maybe just, something really small about the garment. It might be the lace. We use a lot of lace. They're not literal. They're just little instincts that I take from, my past and just add it. So there's little treasures to each garment, and then sometimes they don't look anything African. It's just ready to wear, because I grew up all over the world, so I have different places that I call home. So I kind of take from all those different places, and that's what you see when you see my work.
As I said before, I had I loved you on Project Runway, and I have like a million questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so hard to get down my million questions about you being on that show down some. Cause I mean, I can literally ask you 100 questions all day long about you being on Project
You and
Runway.
everybody else.
Yeah. So the first thing, so you made your debut on Project Runway season 5.
Mm-hmm.
What made you finally want to try out for the show?
I mean, I watched it from the very beginning, and I like the idea of it. You know, it's a reality show based on the designers. But the very first show, like I was literally breastfeeding my daughter and watching it. So I was like, okay, this is still around. When she's old enough for me to do it, I'm gonna try it. And 4 years later, you know, Kristen Siriano won, and they, you know, show the commercial and they say, you know, do you have what it takes? Do you want to be on the show? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it out. I asked my husband if he was okay with it. He's like, go for it. So here I am.
Ooh, oh wow. Okay, so okay. Well, like, so you told me you watched the show. You was watching it from season 1. Did you ever watch the show and say, you know, you're seeing their challenges, you're seeing the time it takes. Did you ever think, I can do what they're doing? Like, I can. Did you feel like, were you nervous about, can I do those challenges? Can I do it in the time that they're given? Or was it like, oh, I know I can do it? Like, what were your thoughts?
I mean, you definitely, like, I remember the very first challenge ever was the supermarket challenge, you know, and so on my season, that was the very first challenge, and I remember saying to myself, well, what would you do in that instance? I already had it planned out, but you can never plan anything on that show because it never works out. So, like, what I planned to do wasn't available at this supermarket. So, you know, I had a plan B. But, yeah, I mean, you look at it and you wonder what you would do. If you're an artist, it's just natural. You don't even realize you're doing it. But once you're in the situation, it's completely different.
All right. And you brought up that first episode where y'all did the grocery mart. Y'all kind of did what they did on season 1. And I think, was it another challenge that season where y'all did something with like spare car parts or something?
Yeah, we did. It was a Saturn challenge. Saturn was the sponsor of the show, so we had like Saturn car parts that were in cars and we had to grab them. And actually, it was unconventional. That's what it was called. And actually, I made a seatbelt coat out of them.
I do remember that.
Wove it together, and yeah, so that was actually one of my favorites.
Cool. Like, well, whenever y'all had to like create things out of like none fabric, like did you ever want to give a side eye to like, what is this crazy? How am I going to create something that is
not really? I mean, that's just the gist of the show.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be always fabric. Actually, we have more fun when it's not fabric.
Cool. Like, I mean, because like when I'm watching
creative.
Yeah, you know, that's what I think, but I'm feeling like, when I'm sitting at home watching it, I'm like, I would be walking around that store all day trying to figure out what to make. But I mean, y'all always
don't really have time, so you just grab. You just instantly just grab things and you figure it out later. And you know, if you've made friends in the room, you can borrow or, you know, borrow some stuff. But, you know, when you're creative and this is what you do, you should be able to make something out of air.
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, you're right. Did you ever find it crippling? Because I know, like, y'all only have a few minutes, like, to make a sketch, and then y'all have like a day or so to make it runway ready. Did you ever find that crippled your creativity, or that make you even more creative?
It depends on the challenge. I mean, really, it looks like we have a day, but we have 8 hours. You know, because 2 of those hours are set up, interviews and whatnot, and eating and all that stuff. So it's definitely hard. I mean, it really challenges you as a designer, and if you really want it, you know, if you want it, you'll push and just figure something out. And a lot of us on the show, we're not established designers, where we're in big time department stores and we have people that work for us. We actually make everything ourselves, so that's why it's easier for us to go into that situation and make things. You know, when you're used to just getting scraps or this and maybe a little bit of that, and you make these masterpieces in your real life. When you go into a situation like that, you don't freak out. I found the designers that were a little spoiled, who were able to get everything they wanted and had it done this way, they couldn't cope. You know, when you're a struggling artist, you make something out of nothing.
That's cool. So it sounds like you coming from your background, it made it easier to be on the show because you were used to making something out of nothing.
You know, we had everything one day and then we lost it and we had nothing. So You don't just die and shrivel up. You just make do with what you have and you make the best of it.
Oh, that's cool. I never thought about it from that perspective. That you probably wouldn't have as hard a time as a more established, like you said, someone that's a little spoiled and.
Yeah, like on our season, the first guy to go, he was already involved. He already showed up on our part. He had everything that we were aiming for, so he didn't really take it seriously. It was like beneath him to go to the supermarket and make a garment. So they sent him packing. So it's just like, okay, I'll make something out of this garbage bag. Yeah. You know, if that's all I have, what am I going to complain about?
This is something I've always wondered about. When the judges are doing their parts, so your design has come down a runway. The judges are starting to critique. It's been plenty of times I've been sitting on the couch, and I'm like, they're just looking for stuff. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, or I don't agree. Well, I don't agree with their critique.
You're never always going to agree, and then a lot of times they see it closer than you see it. Actually, looks better on TV. Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, you get to that last 2 minutes, you're pinning stuff together, you're gluing, you're nip-tacking, you're taping, you're doing anything you can, and although the judges don't see that, the producers do, so someone's already told them that this dress is pinned together, and even though it looks fabulous in front of them, they already know, so it's like you can't hide anything.
Okay, so has there ever been a time where they were judging one of your designs and they're critiquing, and you just, because I was wondering, how do you keep the straight face when they're critiquing? You know how much work you put into this. You know you put in everything, every minute you had, and they're just like tearing it apart. I don't think that ever happened to you.
Well, I mean, it happened to me quite a bit. On season 5, I mean, usually that's when you see me bursting out into tears. This is like, how do you like defend something that a lot of that stuff is already prejudged. So it's just like, it's not just even so much the garment, it's what you sacrifice to be there. It's, you know, what you have risked to just be in that position. It's not so much even like the criticism. A lot of times they have to say something. Yeah. They can't just say everything is fabulous, everything is great. Yeah. So, you know, and then you're sleep deprived and you're not with your family. It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into that one moment. So when you see people like reacting, it's always on one side, people watching think, oh, she can't take criticism. But on the other side, you have no idea. I haven't slept in days. Haven't eaten. Haven't talked to my daughter in weeks. And all that comes to that one moment where you're like, I can lose all this for my hem not being done properly.
Wow. And it's like, and I think, again, it's kind of like you said, we at home don't
know you guys are very judgmental at home.
Yeah, because there's been plenty of times where I see somebody on the runway.
I've read some of the blogs, and it's just like, I just want to, like, find those people and
but no, you're right. We don't know. We only see what they
you think
put
it's
on
so
camera.
easy and you think it should just be so perfect, but I would love to like pick, they should just have like a fan runway where you pick the most nastiest bloggers and bring them on the show and we judge them. Yeah. So they can just see for a moment what we go through. Because they're so judgmental and so mean and it's just like crazy.
Yeah, and I have to admit there's been times I've been sitting at home and I'm just like, why is she crying and why is he showing out? And I forget y'all are away from your family. You know, it's more than just a design. It's everything that's going on at that moment. Yeah. And so I mean that's something I have to kind of think about. Yeah. There's been times that, like I said, I've sat at home and thought the same thing. And this is something else with just reality shows, period. I always hear people that are on reality shows say, well, they edited that scene to make it look a certain way, but that's not how it really was. Was there ever a time that you watched an episode and you thought they edited a certain way, but that's not?
I mean, you'll see me rolling my eyes or you'll hear me say something, but you're looking at the building of Parsons and it's just like, you know, and then Tim just left. So it's made to look like I'm rolling my eyes at Tim, and then what I just said was reflected to him. But really, there's 3 different situations. I always roll my eyes. That's instead of cussing, rolling my eyes takes the place. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so that's edited to look a certain way. Like I'm giving Tim Gunn back attitude, and I'm not. So they do. Okay. You know, they don't make words come out of your mouth, but they take your words and they manipulate it to look a certain way. Yeah.
Okay, well, I most certainly, when I'm keeping that in mind. Well, I've been able to watch a lot of shows where they interview people on reality show, and I've always heard that. Yeah,
they take a situation. Like I mean, everything I said it, but it needs to be showed completely. If you're just chopping it up, and all you hear is me saying, "Oh, this is disgusting." Yeah. You don't even know somebody just spit on my face. Yeah. Or you're gonna think, okay, she's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, so now you're back for All Star season. Is it episode 3 tonight? Yeah. Episode 3 tonight. So do you feel more prepared this season
Definitely.
since
Like
you've been
going
on the show
on,
before?
yeah. I mean, now I know to watch my words. Now I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing a game. When I'm in the interviews, I'm going to be kooky and funny and
Yeah.
alive. When I'm in the workroom, I'm going to be serious cutout, whether you like it or not. I don't smile in the workroom. Sorry. Get over it. And you just learn, and you know it's like a game.
Yeah.
I'm not as naive. I know all this stuff has been scripted.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they probably already know who's going to the end.
Yeah.
So you just do your best to make sure that you follow the script.
Yeah. And I've always looked at it, especially with competition reality shows, it's a competition. I always look at it like
It's
you're not there to make friends.
but it's also a show.
Yeah, it's a show. And so I guess I don't look for the contestants to give me a show. I understand that you're there to win. You're not.
Yeah, that's what we're there to do. But if you're there to win, you're just going to be in the workroom and you're going to be quiet.
Yeah.
But when you're not there, they're telling us, hey, we need some energy here.
Yeah.
Can we order some Red Bull or some Starbucks? You guys need to wake up.
Yeah.
You know? So
okay.
It's a show. And
Yeah.
they're running a show. It's not scripted, but, you know, we're actors.
Yeah.
You know, we might walk into the room and the set isn't ready and we'll have to come back in and act like we've never seen it before. It's just a surprise.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah, the world of fashion.
So, here in Little Rock, some of you that follow my blog know that I live here in Arkansas, and so we're most definitely not the state known for fashion. We're certainly not up there with Atlanta or New York. So, when you, after the show, when you come back here, what did you think was going to happen with your design career?
I mean, I've never let where I live dictate what I do. You know, I've lived in Liberia, Boston, North Carolina, Canada. If you want to do something, you just do it. As long as they're planes still flying,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, you can still achieve anything from anywhere. Like, I don't care to live in New York. So I don't feel like you have to live in New York to be a successful designer.
Okay.
You know, Dillard's was founded right here in Arkansas. Family lives here. So that shows you fashion lives everywhere. It's all in your mind. It's more a state of mind than it is actually what you wear. So I'm comfortable here. It's home. I'll be here till I feel like leaving. No one's going to force me out. And I want to do fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that because, you know, that's something when I was in high school and even in college, you know, you hear a lot of times, well, if you're going into a certain career path, you're going to have to leave Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be an actor or, you know, certain things, yeah, you have to go to LA.
Yeah.
If you want to make it to that level, yes. If you want to be deep into the industry of fashion, yeah, you do have to go to New York and be in it. If you want to work for a label, yeah, you have to go to New York. But if you want to be independent and do what you want to do without following rules, you can live anywhere.
With different fashion things starting to pop up in Little Rock, I'll ask that. Do you see a turn in a new direction for fashion here in Arkansas, Little Rock or Central Arkansas?
Definitely. I mean, just, you know, just going on the show and just people seeing who live here that, okay, wow, she lives here and she did it. It does inspire people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I created fashion in Little Rock. It's been here. But when you have someone who comes from a background like mine, who's like, wow, she's doing what I'm doing, and my life is similar to hers, I can do it. I'm married. I have a 4-year-old, you know, and I make it happen. So it does help. And then fashion is growing here. You know, you have really great magazines here. You have a lot of really great boutiques here. And there is a fashion scene here. It's just building and it's growing. And I think it'll continue to grow once more awareness. Like, fashion is just huge in the world right now. It's not trending. It's just a really big thing with the help of celebrities and TV shows. Now it's all about what people are wearing. The red carpet is huge. What are you wearing? What you get that? It influences every part of life. So if Little Rock wasn't involved with fashion, we'd be literally under a rock, like, seriously. So it's good to see it being embraced, and it's growing, and it's good to be a part of it.
You know, I'm considered plus size, and when I go into stores, and I realize that certain stores don't cater to women over a certain size. So, is there something that certain fashion designers have against designing for plus size women?
It really is cost. You know, people look at, that's why, like, the sample of most designers make, or any line or label, they make the smallest size, you know, because they have to spend the least amount on that fabric and fit this girl that's like a size 0 or 2 and see how the design is going to look, as opposed to fitting it on somebody that's bigger, and it just costs them more, you know. And then certain designs won't always look good on somebody over a size 16, and sometimes people don't want to compromise their designs just for the sake of fit.
Yeah.
So it's a personal thing. You know, it's not saying it's good or it's bad, but there's different reasons why some designers only stop at like a size 16. And they don't want to compromise. It's a whole different market, and it really is.
Yeah.
A dress that somebody can wear at a size 2 to a 6 may not necessarily look great on somebody that's a size 16 to 22. So for that reason in itself, it's two different markets.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you have your juniors, you have your Missy, you have your plus, and those are separated for a reason because designs have to change for those body types as it goes up to be pleasing to you and your body.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm glad to kind of hear it from that perspective. Cause
yeah, it's not like, oh, we're not making anything for big people or whatever. It's just easier not to.
Okay, yeah, and I like to hear that because, you know, when I go into a store, you know, I mean, I want to look just as fashionable as somebody that's in a size, you know, too, you know.
But you do have designers that do only cater to plus size individuals, and they make things for your body type. They make things that are going to look great on you. They make things that are going to fit you well, and it's just as fashionable. So I think a lot of designers, especially for me, if I'm going to do it, I would have to do just that. I can't have it from 0 to 22. It's too much. So I really would have to separate it and make sure that I focus on when I'm doing this for this body type here. The length of the skirt may have to be here, and this might have to have more stuff over here. Or the neckline may have to be different. You know what I mean? Whereas you have a 0 to 6, you can do a plunging neckline. You know what I'm saying? So it's just really, you don't want to compromise your work. And so I get it. You know, when you're not on the other side, you take it personally. And I've been in the chamber many times and felt, you know, a certain way because I wanted to wear something and it didn't fit me, or it said it should fit me and it didn't when I got in there. But it's just the industry, and instead of being in the industry and complaining, that's why I make clothes to fit girls that look like me.
Gotcha.
You know, instead of being a part of the complaining part, I'll just be a part of the change.
No, that's cool. And I even see that, like, now that I've started to get into a lot of different blogs, and I've really started following a lot of plus size blogs, and that's how I find out who's making clothes that fit me. You know, and so I know they're out there, but I guess it's just kind of like I've always felt this growing up. I've always felt like I have to work a little harder to find what I want for my body, what's gonna look hard, you know, look good on me. You know, because unfortunately, like you said, there's so much that goes behind the scenes, and some designers are just, like you said, it's easy for them to design for this rather than another body type because, you know, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's a whole different market, and, you know. So, I mean, there are, Crystal Frazier, she was on Project Runway, she does full size. You have Monique C, who does really fabulous work.
Yes.
There are a lot of great full-time, you know, all the time. That's what they do day and night, designers out there. And sometimes I see stuff on there I want to wear, and it's like, man, can you bring your thing down to like a 12? You know, so it goes both ways, you know. You just have to look for what you want.
Yeah, so, well, I like to end all my interviews with an advice question. So, what would be your advice to someone who's wanting to get in fashion, whether it's they're wanting to design, maybe they want to be a stylist or something like, what would be your advice to that person?
Learn what it is you're going into. Like, don't just wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be a stylist, and then start styling people. You have no idea what you're doing. Go and find out who are stylists. What does a stylist do? What does a stylist charge? And maybe find a stylist that you can intern with and really get to know what it is that you're getting into. If you don't know your business, someone's always going to tell you your business. I know what I do, so someone can't come in here and tell me, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. You have to know what you stand for and why you're in the business in the first place. And if it's just for the money, go ahead and quit and find a regular job, because it's fashion. It's so up and down. Like Hattie says, it's in and out. You know, you just never know. So you have to really love it and be in it for the long haul, because it's up and down bad.
No, you're right, and thank you so much for being a part of this interview. Y'all, please turn into Lifetime. Is it Thursdays?
Thursdays, 9, 8 Central.
Tune in. This season they're bringing back all the fan favorites, winners, the most terrific people that have been on that show. So you do not want to miss out. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being a part of this interview.